Welcome to the Corporate Detox podcast. I'm your host, Amanda McWhorter. I'm a corporate dropout, recovering people pleaser and perfectionist turned burnout recovery coach. If you are sick of the corporate roller coaster ride and ready to step into a life you love, this is the podcast for you. Hey there, welcome back to the Corporate Detox podcast. I'm your host, Amanda McWhorter, and in today's episode, I am joined by my good friend, Jenny Gallard. Jenny is a business mentor and loves helping women, especially mamas, fully go after their dreams, simplify their steps, and help them get out of their own way. She is also the co-host of an amazing podcast geared towards Latina mamas in business, and I'm sure we'll hop into that, a little bit more about that podcast as our conversation continues. Okay, Jenny, thank you so much for being here. Typically I jumped right into you telling us about your corporate detox story, but while I have you, I want to go back to a few weeks ago when we reached out. We were talking to each other about doing this, and I told you that you were like one of my dream interviews. Like, you had been on my list of people that I wanted to interview. Since I started this. So I am just so flattered that you're here. We had connected originally. We were in the same coaching program with Rebecca Lima, and I just love your story. And I love that you and your sister Wendy have worked together, and I think we'll get into that a little bit in our interview. But I just love like the bond that you guys have and how you guys even each other out. So with that, let's jump in. And I can't wait for you to share your story. So share with us your own corporate detox story.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. This is so fun. I was telling Amanda, so my sister and I have been in business for the past 3-4 years, something like that. So this is my first interview by myself. So it's kind of nerve-wracking, but also exciting at the same time because I get to share just more about just me. And I don't like to be the center of attention, so this is going to be even more fun. But I just want to say really quick, I love everything that you are doing. So when you messaged me and said I was on your dream list, I just about died because I'm like, I'm on somebody's list. Oh my goodness. And I just love what you are doing. I love the name of your brand. I love your messaging. Every time you put stuff out there, I'm like, yes, so good, so good. So I just have to say that you are doing such amazing work. Just wanted to say that first.
I received that. Thank you very much.
You received that. Okay. So let's start. Okay. I'll start with my previous corporate job. So I was in corporate America, and I wouldn't even call it so funny that I was thinking back. So I started with a very small company based just in Orlando, and they got bought out several times. So then it became very corporate-y. So I started with them super small, like under 100 people. And then it just got to, they got bought out by the book publishing company, Pearson. So we got really, really big. But I was through all of those changes. So this was, I was there for just about 10 years, actually. And I was in marketing for the majority of that time, like about 5-6 years or something like that. And that was like my real big girl job, I guess. And I was doing that, and I didn't see any problems with corporate America. I was perfectly happy until I had my second son. And in 2016, I started getting this little bug for the entrepreneurial world. I'm not really sure where it came from, but I started binging podcasts. And there was this podcast. It's no longer the name of it because she like blew up to a whole nother level. But it used to be called Don't Keep Your Day Job. And I couldn't even believe there was like another world out there that wasn't a corporate world. And the funny thing is that I actually have a lot of entrepreneurial family members. So you would think like I kind of was like, oh, this is, possible through it, but it didn't really kind of hit me. I just thought you have to go into corporate America. You got to get the good benefits. You got to get that good 401k and you retire when you're 65 and that is it. And that's what I was kind of going for. I didn't really want to climb the corporate ladder that much. I just was very comfortable, just kind of, oh, if I can make a decent salary, I'll be fine. That was kind of my approach to things. And then I think God just started showing me after, my son was born, like there's something else out there. So I started getting just very annoyed by everything that they did. Basically, I hated my managers. I will say I was there for 10 years and I probably had a new manager every year. So I had like 10 managers. The problem with corporate America is that when you have good managers, you tend to stay longer. The manager is usually, if they suck, then you're like, I'm out of here. Like, this is stupid. I'm not doing this. But my managers always were really good. And so they kind of kept me going. And then I got that one at that like 9-year mark or something like that I was like, this is bullshit. And I'll never forget. I'm sorry if I don't even know if I'm all over the place, but it's actually, I left corporate America 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. So it's kind of been interesting, like thinking back to all this time, but I went to Mexico, I remember, and came back from this trip and my manager was like, how was your time? Oh, I was like, it was great. And I'm telling her about it. She's like, so, I don't remember her name. Lisa's leaving. And I'm like, oh, okay, great for Lisa. Or not great, but where is she going? All that conversation. And then it just turned into, so we're just going to be reorganizing some roles here and who's going to be taking on what. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so then it just got to, I was taking on 2 people's jobs and not going to get any more money. And at that point, I think I was just so jaded, so burnt out. So like, if that would have happened maybe a couple of years ago, I probably would have been okay with it, but something just put me over the edge with that. And I remember calling my husband and saying, I'm so done with this place. I can't take this anymore. And I'll never forget, I'm on the phone crying and he goes, just quit. And I was like, it's almost like I needed his permission. Like I just needed someone else to tell me like, it's going to be okay. He didn't even say those words. Actually, he kind of did, but he was just like, just leave. We'll be okay. Cause at that time he was getting trained to do something else. So it would be another income coming in. So I'm like, okay, it'll be okay. And I just went with that. I just felt like that's exactly what I needed to hear. And I gave my notice, a 5-week notice, which I'm so embarrassed about now because I'm that people pleasing. I'm like, really?
Oh,
5
girl.
weeks?
I
So
did not know you
unnecessary.
gave 5 weeks.
5 weeks. So unnecessary. But at the same time, I was very nervous about not getting a paycheck. So I was like, let me extend this as long as I possibly can. But a lot of it was just people pleasing. I'm like, oh, they need support. They need help. And then I left and I went in business with my sister. And we did that for 3-4 years my timing is not very good. But then in about November, we kind of realized that we were passionate about different things and we were kind of afraid to tell each other that. And so once she said it, it just opened everything up and she's ventured out and doing her own thing. And I'm doing my own thing now too. And it's been very clear that that's what we were supposed to do. Like it's been so easy. So I know that it was like the right decision. And so, and so that was in like November-ish. And then in January, we kind of just went our own ways. And I decided that, so what we were doing was actually in like supporting women during pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And so I decided that I wanted to support women on the business side more because I don't know, I just went back to me 5 years ago and what I needed back then. And I'm like, man, if I could only have known this and that and not made these mistakes. And if I could just teach someone, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. Like stop focus, all of these mistakes. And so that's what I decided to do. So now
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
mentoring moms. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God, I can't believe I'm actually doing this.
I love it. Okay, so let's go back to your comment about almost the loyalty to managers. Because I think a lot of people can resonate with that, right? That it's not always a company that keeps you where you're at for a long time. It is the person that you're working for.
Yeah,
Because that's who you have the relationship with.
exactly. Because we're not really dealing with people up there, and
Yes.
it's really that every day to day, if you can have an okay relationship with someone that you're dealing with, on a daily basis, then you're fine,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So I saw this so much, like good and bad, in my former corporate career, because when I was brought up that like your store, like I worked in retail, so your store manager would make or break the whole
Mm.
operation, right? And that was always something that I prided myself on, was having that relationship with folks. And then when I went into HR and you're watching what's happening at store level, right? You could see that. Like there would be really, really, really good teams. And then you changed the store manager and things would just crumble. The high
Mm.
performers wouldn't perform if they didn't like that store leader, if they didn't feel valued and connected to. Um, so that's definitely something that I think, you know, people listening, they might be going through that or have gone through that, where they had a really good experience and they were loyal to that person. And then there's a change. And then it's
Hmm.
kind of like the bottom falls out.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad it happened to me
Yes.
because I was there for way too long. I was probably there for an extra like 3 years, I would say. I should have left like 3 years ago. And I did start looking for like another job about 2, 3 years ago, just kind of looking, but nothing really happened. I think, God already knew his plan. But I was just there for way too long, but it really just came down to the manager. And once I got that one manager, that changed everything. And that opened up my eyes to so much. So I'm glad. I hate her, but I'm also glad that she came in my world, honestly. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't for her, I really wouldn't be here, kind of. So in
Yeah.
a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people don't leave jobs. People leave like the managers, really.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about this 5-week notice, because so I've been seeing a trend since I've been doing this work
Okay.
on women giving long notices when they resign.
Mm.
I did not see this from men when I was in the HR realm.
Interesting.
It is
They
is definitely something that I find very interesting. I gave a month's notice.
You did.
I gave a month's notice. Same thing, right? I didn't want to leave my team high and dry. There were things that needed to happen. There was a grand reopening coming. There's all this stuff, right? And also I wanted to make it to that next month so I would have the benefits to carry me to the end of the year. I knew if I worked one day in
Mm.
December, I would get benefits that would take me till January 1st, essentially. So there's that piece, but it's just really interesting that as women, we feel that we have to tie up the loose ends, that we have to make sure that things are, our successor is ready to go. Um, it's just really interesting. I know of at least 3 other people besides the 2 of us that it's been
Mm.
the same thing.
Yeah.
They give 3
That's
weeks notice.
yeah, and that makes total sense, honestly, if you think about it. I mean, men are just not worried about what other people like they're worried about themselves. Like I got to take care of myself and this other job needs me or whatever it is, and I'm just going to
Yes.
do what I need to do. And we're just thinking about everyone else but ourselves, basically.
Yep.
I will say now that I know what I know about people pleasing, boundaries, like everything that I have learned, I would never do that. But I will say it was also because I wanted the paycheck. So there was part of that too. It wasn't just the people pleasing. That definitely was a part of it. But same thing. I was being very strategic about it and the benefits. And I'm like, I got to get these doctor's appointments out of the way. But yeah, that people pleasing, man, is just brutal. It's so
Yeah.
hard to get out of that. But, knowing what I know now, I would do, differently, but it's
So,
still
so those 5 weeks, and I don't know if you can remember back this far, because I know this is like, I'm asking you to recall a lot of things from your corporate days, but what was your experience in those 5 weeks? Like by week 2, had you basically checked out?
Yes, it was fabulous. It was magical because I took advantage of it and I was just very relaxed about everything. So yeah, I would say about the 2-week mark, I was pretty much checked out. I did what I needed to do. I trained who I needed to train. I tightened up everything, and I just kind of chilled out, and it was so fun because there would be things that would be like coming down the line, like this training or this thing. And I'm like, not me. So it was really fun. I will have to say, like that long, it was kind of worth it a little bit just to see them all kind of like panic a little bit about things. And I'm like, it's not going to affect me. And I would just, yeah, that was really fun.
Total same situation for me. And
Same.
it's
Oh.
funny, like the store that I was at and I was leading, the team would note it, like they noticed it right off the bat, on how like we got to like that 2-week mark, and like just my whole attitude had changed. Not that I didn't care about what was going on, but my stress levels were a lot lower because my whole thing was, and I would say this to people, what are they going to do? Fire me? Like, I'm not going to be here in a few weeks anyways. So like, I just didn't take it as serious.
Mm-hmm.
And then now looking back, like I tell clients all the time, there's a reason that people talk about a 2 weeks notice. Because if you try to give more than that, like you're not contributing a whole lot to the organization, quite honestly. And you're probably going to get to like week 2 in a couple of days and be a little bit miserable and kind of wish you would have just given the 2 weeks notice.
Yeah. And the most fun part about it, I will say now that you're talking about it, is also that I wasn't going to another corporate job. So I actually had no idea what I was going to do. I just said I was gonna, what did I say? I think I said I was gonna work because my husband's also an entrepreneur. And I think I said I was just gonna like help out my husband, and do my own thing. I don't remember it because I didn't have an actual strategy. I didn't have this business for myself that I was going to necessarily. We were gonna build it. But it was so fun that they were just like, where is she going? What is she doing? It was just so fun. Now that I think back to like, they were just so confused. I loved it.
Yeah. Same thing. Like I had no plan, like none. I didn't have another job lined up.
Either. Okay.
I had no plan. And I remember the president of our division actually came to my store and she was like, I just want to talk to you about this. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't have a plan. I'm not going to do this. I know that for sure, but I don't know what I'm going to do. And like, she was really concerned about, and there was a lot of people concerned that I was leaving with nothing. And a lot of people had it in their mind that I would leave, take a month or 2 off to chill out, and then be begging to come back. So I remember running into that same leader at a retirement party for one of the people that I'd worked with. And her comment to me was, we have a place for you when you're ready to come back.
Oh,
and
wow.
That made me so mad. Like that fired me up because first of all, I was like, at that point, like I had started my own business and it was like, it was her mentality of you're not going to make it, so you need to come back to the corporate world, that really lit a fire in my belly.
Sometimes you need those comments. I wish I would have gotten a comment like that. Sometimes you need people to not believe in you
Yeah.
so that you can believe in yourself a little bit more,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you had a lot of doubt and fear, but her saying that was like, oh my God, I'm going to do this and I'm going to show you and I'm going to take pictures of me doing it and send it to
Right.
you.
Yeah. My attitude at that point was like, okay, maybe if this doesn't work, like I will find something that works to not have to come back and work for someone like you. It truly was like that.
That's so funny. Aw.
So, so now, I remember listening to the podcast, that you and Wendy had dropped that was like, changes are coming. And you guys had like had that conversation with each other on like, this just isn't lighting us up anymore. Let's talk about how amazing is it as an entrepreneur that when something doesn't feel good anymore, you can just change.
Amen to that. I actually just did a post about that the other day,
Did
about
you?
pivoting and
Yes.
changing, because I will say though, corporate America, man, just sucks the life out of you. And it's so hard to get out of a lot of things that they teach you. And as an entrepreneur, I have to constantly remind myself that it's okay to pivot and it's okay to change. And I'm the one in charge. I make the decisions. And yes, there are some times that I'm like, can someone please tell me what to do? But I have to constantly remind myself, like, you make these decisions, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And that's why became an entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur because I hated people telling me what to do and how to do it. And I wanted to be in control of my destiny and my salary and my everything. I wanted to be in control of that, not some people that don't know me. So yeah, it was quite some time. Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember this, but we were it was one of our coaching calls with Rebecca. And so when I started my business, I started out as an online business manager. And it's what felt comfortable to me because I didn't even know what was out there. Like there was this whole world outside of corporate, and I knew nothing about it. Mostly because I was so wrapped up in what I was doing in my corporate life, and I was working 65, 75 hours a week. Like there was no time to look at what was outside of that. So I kind of fell into like, okay, well, I have 18 years in management. We'll do online business manager. And I still do some of that work. But I remember the day that I was like, I don't know if I want to do this long term. And I don't know if I want this to be the only thing that I do. And Rebecca had said to me, why don't you coach? Like, you want to help women in corporate, so why don't you coach? And my thing to her was, well, I can't just change. I've only been doing this for a few months. And it was that corporate mindset, right? Like I was taught that you should stay in a position for 12 to 18 months before you go on to another one.
Yeah.
And I carried that into my business. And my mindset was, well, I need to do this for at least a year, if not 2 years, before I pivot.
Yeah.
And it was like the light bulb went off.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how you started, and that's how it kind of interesting.
Yeah. So the light bulb went off and I was like, are you for real? Like I can change at any point that I want to. And that was so like life-giving to me in this business because I had like that corporate mindset of you should do this for so long. You don't have to. Like you can seriously wake up tomorrow and decide, you know what, I'm just going to add something to my business, or I'm going to take something away from my business, or this doesn't feel good. And you don't have that pressure of Wall Street. You don't have the pressure of all these people above you telling you what to do.
Yeah. I think we think, sadly, this is going to sound really weird, but that people care about us more than we think. I remember there was like a good post that I did a long time ago about that. Like, people are so much more consumed with their own lives than with yours. So sometimes we think we post something and like that the world saw it, which by the way, probably only 5 people saw that. We think the whole world saw that. And so then if we decide to change something or completely change something in 3 months, that those people saw that and also saw it was like, it's just these stories in our head. And I'm like, no one's cares that much about you in a sad way, but they care about themselves. They're trying to survive. They're trying to figure themselves out. They're really not following you. They don't have a notification to see every single move. So I always try to remind myself about that.
That's so good.
It's so interesting, isn't that?
Yeah.
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 But yeah, with my sister, we thankfully we had a therapist. Guys, we had a relationship therapist because it is just being in business with someone else it's hard. Being in business with a family member is even harder. So we got a relationship therapist, and we only had like 2 calls maybe with him, maybe 3, where we realized this is it. This is what we had. We were not communicating effectively. We're just so different. And it was just not working. And we couldn't figure out why. And then one day my sister was like, maybe this is not what we're supposed to be doing. And I remember her saying, Jenny, if tomorrow you wake up and you are coaching or helping women during pregnancy or get that birth that they want, or you find out that you help someone leave a corporate job, or you help someone start their own business, like which one lights you up? And I was like, oh my God, that is so easy and obvious. I want to help women start their own business. That's what lights me up. And I felt that in my body as she said that. And she's like, so that's the answer. That's it. And so that's when we decided. And I'm glad that, and that's another one there too. Like, we were doing that for 4 years maybe, and we could have easily just kept going and trying to figure this out. But it's not only consistency that wins, you also have to be aligned with what you like to do. So you could be consistent with something for a really long time, but you're not aligned with it anymore. So that's another reason why it won't work. So it's not just being consistent that's enough. So as soon as we were consistent with what we actually love to do and what we are passionate about, that's when things kind of took off. So I will say that, but I'm glad she said it that day. It was like such a relief. I'll never forget it. The way she said it. And then my whole shoulders, everything was dropped. And I was like, thank you for saying that. Because I guess I was thinking about that too, but didn't really even think about it until she said it. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. So I'm just so glad she said that.
So let's talk. So you guys still have a podcast together
We do.
that I thoroughly enjoy.
Oh,
I do. I thoroughly enjoy it. And you have done multiple episodes with your relationship therapist.
yeah.
Too.
Aki is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the episodes with him. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's awesome. We've actually known him for quite a while. He actually was the therapist for me and my husband, my sister and her then husband. He's done a lot of stuff for us. So it's almost just like family at this point. But yeah, we're so lucky to have him in our life. We still meet with him every 2 weeks, even though we're in business separately, because we just, he almost became almost like a business consultant a little bit. So we still have the podcast that we share because I feel like that's the one thing that kind of connects us. And it's more of just fun, creative outlet, sisters coming together kind of thing. So we're still doing our own things, but that's that one thing that keeps us connected, I would say.
So you released an episode a week ago about hair.
Hair.
And I loved it.
Aw.
I loved it. So, and I think there was an episode before that you had mentioned in the corporate world. And I've never thought about this ever, And you really brought this to light about how when someone has naturally curly hair, you feel this need, especially in the corporate world, to wear it straight. Like you don't wear it natural because of the perception of that. And so I'm definitely going to link that podcast in the show notes because it's so good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's we discovered so much just by doing that podcast. As we were like talking, it's like, remember this, remember that. But yeah, we would not go on job interviews with curly hair. We would not, you wouldn't get promoted if you had curly hair. You would not get that job if you had a curly hair. If you went to, some big corporate meeting or something, do not wear your curly hair because it's not professional looking, basically. And funny enough, somebody commented that she's actually looking for a job. She got her position was like they reorganized, and she's looking for a job. And she said she's out there in the workforce. I mean, it's been a while, so I don't know what's going on. She said it's still like that. She
That's
still is
crazy.
straightening her hair just to go on these interviews. Yep. And I was like, wow. And my comment was, I can't believe I fell for that shit.
Right?
I can't believe I thought that was okay.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of things that I had forgotten from my HR days with recruiting. And there was an interview that I did with this lady, and she was amazing. Like she was sweet, she was a high performer, like she would have been a great leader. And I was not allowed to hire her because she had a tattoo on her hand. And
Wow.
it wasn't anything offensive. Like it was, I want to say there was like some sort of religious meaning, like it was something that meant to her, had a meaning to her, right? Um, and at that time, there was like we had this policy, this rule that you don't hire someone that has for a management position that has tattoos that can be seen. And it
Wow.
was crazy. It was crazy. And I remember saying, like, I can't believe that we're passing on this opportunity to
Mhm.
have this wonderful leader come work for us because of that. Um, I never, like, hair never really, in my mind, never dropped in. But now I wonder, like, to some of the other people that were recruiting, like, what is their perception, right? What was their perception? Um, Man, we need to, we have to get better.
Yeah. I think that it's a little bit. I remember my sister was in hotel sales, and the tattoo thing. She, again, it's like we really just did this shit and we're okay with it. She had to cover it all up. Like she had to buy special makeup and cover up her tattoos, um, and wear a long sleeve shirt, and so that she can work. And she knows now that there are people still in that world, and she's like, it's not that bad anymore. It's a little bit better now. They don't have you covering up that way. But man, just the stuff that we do,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's
I had hourly associates that worked like we had a Starbucks in our store. And I remember I'd have to tell them, like, you either take out your nose ring or you put a band-aid over it. Same thing, like any piercings, facial piercings, it was that way. Hair color was a big thing. So of course, like when I left, like what's one of the first things I did? I went and got my nose pierced. I wear my hair naturally curly now, not because I didn't do it before, but like
right.
it's just like you feel like you can really sink into like who you authentically are.
Yes, embracing who you are is exactly. I didn't do that. It took me a while. Like it's been years. It's you're not in corporate America anymore. You're not in corporate America anymore. And subconsciously you do stuff. A lot of stuff is not consciously, but subconsciously. Like I still to this day cannot just go to like Marshall's on Tuesday at 10 a.m. without having anxiety, feeling like I need to be back home. Someone needs something. I need to be on GChat because someone will need, like, I still have,
Uh,
yeah, my sister and I will always talk about it, but our heart will start racing if we do something like that. And we constantly have to remind ourselves, it's okay. It's okay. You're not in that world anymore. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I think, one of the things that I've had to learn on this journey is that working on my business doesn't always mean I'm in front of a computer. So I think about like listening to podcasts and reading books and like educating myself so that I can help my clients better is working on my business.
Yes. Oh my God. Now that you say that, it's so true. Like we just think
Right?
we right behind a computer.
Yes.
Or like towards the end, we started working from home in our company. So it was like I have to be by my phone on G chat, and that was acceptable, but I still felt like that wasn't work. Computer is work, laptop is work. That's such a great point. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had one of the coaches I was working with and still am, like I remember probably a year and a half ago, she said to me, you need to set an alarm for 3 o'clock every day. And like the name on the alarm needs to be, have I done enough work today? Because in my
Ooh,
head, right, I felt like I had to be working till 5 o'clock or
oh,
later.
yes,
And in order to help break out of that, it was, have I done enough today? Because we get so much like the way that we're productive now in this setting is so much different than when we were in an office setting with people coming in and talking and interrupting us and having to go with someone else's schedule, right? So like prioritizing now, I might only work for 3 hours, but like I might have gotten more done in that 3 hours than I did in 10 hours.
exactly. Exactly. Because it's when it's very focused time. I love that, by the way. I wrote that down because I'm going to do that. But when it's very focused time, so my kids are in vacation Bible school this week. And so I have a good 3 hour chunk to get stuff done without them screaming that they need snacks. But yesterday I posted this on my story. Now that you say that, I got everything on my to-do list done by 11 a.m. Everything. And I was done. And I still felt like I didn't do enough. Or
Right.
I felt like I should be doing something. Maybe that's more of it. Like when I got home, settled, and it was like 2 o'clock, I'm like, I should just sit by my computer and see if there's something I could do. I'm like, just let it be. Let it
Yeah.
be enough. Let it
Yeah.
be enough.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about the work that you're doing with clients now. And feel free to let people know where they can find you, where they can connect with you.
Yeah. So this is actually the first time I'm talking about it like this. So this is going to be so interesting. So I basically help specifically moms start businesses and help them stop overcomplicating it all. That's like the gist of it. So I'm kind of serving a past version of myself 5 years ago where I knew I wanted to start a business. I will say I don't help people find a passion right now. That's not really my thing. It's more of, you know what you want to do, but you just don't know the steps to get there, or you're overcomplicating the steps, or you're full of fear and you're full of doubt and you're just standing in your own way, basically. That's who I help. So you kind of have to know what you want. And so you're either just starting out this business, or you've been in business for, maybe a couple years, but the business is really not a priority. One of the girls in my group mentorship program, she had a brand. She was, she had she had her structure done basically, but her business just took a back burner. She actually still is in corporate America. So that is obviously her priority. She doesn't plan on leaving anytime soon. So that was just not her side business was not a priority. So we tried to make that a priority as best as we can, but she needed help with consistency. So I don't want to forget about my business, but I just need to help staying consistent, and accountability is my biggest thing because I've been a part of a lot of group mentorship programs and coaching programs. And unfortunately, they get bigger and bigger and bigger, which I get why. If we want to impact more women and help more women, why limit it? But then we just don't know. We won't be able to know what's going on in everyone's life and the accountability lack. So we can't say, hey, I know you said that you're working on that logo. It's been 3 weeks now that you've been talking about this logo. Like, what is the deal? And clearly this logo is, you're really just full of fear that to put yourself out there, and you're like backing yourself behind this logo. And, so that's why I keep my program like small. So it is basically a mentorship / accountability group specifically for moms. And I do moms because I don't know, maybe I will open it up to more just women, but I do moms because I know how hard it is to build a business while being a mom. I know that, it's not something that other people can understand when, hey, I know I said I was going to do that thing, but the baby hasn't slept for 3 days. I know what that's like. And so some of them can be excuses, but I know that we can all relate to that. Like one of the girls in my group was breastfeeding her baby while we were just all talking, so that's my soft spot is for moms. So yeah, we get together on a weekly basis, and it's, I also teach about strategy, mindset, and really the bulk of it is, are you doing what you need to do to stay consistent? What do you need help with? And the accountability is like huge, because they know every week I'm going to ask them, last week you said you were going to post that YouTube video. What's the deal? So that's like the biggest thing about it.
I love it. So I think your last group was all in person, right? Like local to you?
So the first group, this is what's interesting. I didn't say anything about it being local or anything like that. I opened it up to anyone, but they all ended up being local women.
That's awesome.
And so then I started feeling like maybe there's something here. Maybe I should be doing virtual and in person. And so that's the next group. I actually paused it. I was supposed to start in June, but the kids home from summer, it was just too much. So when I started up again in August, September, it's going to be half virtual, and we'll do like a kickoff meeting in person so we can all get to know each other. And then we celebrate with a rooftop bar celebration, just celebrating all of our accomplishments. So there's an in-person component to it as well, because it's a little different to get, the vibe and the energy is just different when you're in person. So a little mix of both.
I love it. I saw the pictures of the celebration with the ladies a few weeks ago, and it looked amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It did. So where can people find you?
So I'm mostly on Instagram, at Jenny Gallard. I think there might be a period in there. I'm not sure, but you can come up, JennyGallard. That is where most of my content is. That's where I do a lot of education on there. I'm still trying to figure out the best way for me to put out content. I'm thinking of maybe a Facebook group, but I'm not sure, because I used to have a Facebook group and it was just a lot of work. But right now it's just Instagram. You'll find me there, putting all of my information there for now. So
awesome. And how about the podcast?
And the podcast is called Level Up Querida. And we're trying to put out an episode every 2 weeks, actually. So you should be finding something every 2 weeks, but it's just a little mix of everything. But one thing that we found, my sister and I, when we were kind of just talking to people is, we want to give a voice to Latinas and make sure that, they're leveling up and they're getting, what they need. Because we found that it was kind of hard to find other Latinas in the same journey, the personal development journey, the self-development, all of that. So we just want to give a space but it's not specifically for Latinas, but yeah, that's what it's called.
I thoroughly enjoy it. So I will make sure in the show notes that all of Jenny's information is on there, and a link to her podcast as well. So Jenny, thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute joy. And who knows, this might turn into a series at some point.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
So, are you ready to start your own corporate detox journey? Well, if you are, make sure that you check out amandamcwhorter.net for different ways to work with me, as well as some freebies that could help you get started. If you're on social media, follow me at Amanda K. McWhorter on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.